Hey everybody, welcome back to another movie review. As promised, we're going to do more movie reviews. Back at the theater once again, this time at daytime. A little bit of a different setting. Usually I'm here at nighttime, but uh, they only had a noon showing for this film. That film being Of an Age, which was I don't remember the director's name, my apologies, but he did direct, write, and edit the film. Um, and tells a um, pretty straightforward romance, or at least a momentary romance of two guys, and it chronicles, or at least attempts um, their progression of their love uh, to then reuniting many years later, and kind of in a way uh, seeing how each person has either progressed or digressed. Um, so it shows, two different sides of what it means to be in this sort of position. Having being gay at one particular point within the 90s, from a person who is very openly gay to a person who's very closeted, to then seeing how each other kind of rub off each other in some ways, and ultimately just how their connections bind them in some way, and thus their love is sort of formed. Um, it's a pretty standard piece. I mean, I say all the stuff that I say, but it's stuff that I noticed throughout the film, but it's not necessarily what the film's about. It's just pretty much just about two dudes that fell in love, or at least that fell in momentary love, because that's really what the film is about at its core. It's about momentary romance, um, and that's something that I experienced, and I can tell you that when the moment is gone, it is gone. Okay, and I feel like that the main character, it gets hard to really like him because he just comes off as just a sorry ass motherfucker. Like, because the film starts in the 90s and he is the closeted gay guy, and he eventually, opens up after he discovers that the person that he was talking to, because he had like a girlfriend and such, um, and the brother to that girlfriend, helps him out with a certain situation. Who, by the way, that girlfriend is just like trash, just fucking trash. You know what I'm saying? Just a fucking slut and shit like that, coked out motherfucker. Just someone that like even like the guy said that at one point he was like, you deserve better than that. And it's like, yeah, you do. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, I don't see why he's like with her. Because he doesn't do any drugs or anything like that. So it's just that part, which is weird to me. It's just like I was wondering what their connection was, but um, they never really addressed that. It's like, how did you guys meet? They presumably, I guess it's through, because they have like some theater type backgrounds, or at least they both major in some kind of art form. I don't know. They never really brought that up. It just kind of was like, oh look, he has a girlfriend, and that's it. Um, so um, but once he starts hanging out with this dude, and eventually when they get intimate and stuff, he kind of like when they like reconnect many years later, he just comes off as such a sorry ass bitch, because like he just is so close minded, thinking like, oh well, obviously he was never gonna get married or settle down or anything like that. It's like, it's been like 10 years, bro. Like, what did you expect him to do? You know what I mean? Um, and it's a failure of seeing what his situation was. That wasn't love, okay? And I feel like it was in some ways guilt tripping the man too. Like when they eventually at the end, when they like lay in bed and stuff like that. Like, really, I feel like the movie should have ended as they were walking away, from that hillside. I feel like that's like really what the ending should have been, because um, the morning of said moment, I feel, is a more appropriate ending than these two getting somewhat intimate with each other again. Like, it just feels wrong, you know? Um, because it's not genuine love. Like I said, it's momentary love. It's something that happened like briefly in his time, and then many years later they reunite again. And you know what I mean? It's like, that's not real love, you know? It's different if they had like months or years of history together and then they reunite years later. It's different. But when it's just like a week, you know what I mean? Like, I think they were like together, or at least they were like, you know what I mean, like hanging out with each other within like a week, or hell, like maybe 2 or 3 days. That's not enough to like to call love, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, it just comes across as like horny, desperate, you know what I'm saying? Like euphoric, because again, that's what moments are. It's like euphoric type stuff. Like, I just didn't buy the overall situation. I didn't buy really the chemistry either. I just felt that the acting was iffy. Sometimes it was decent. Sometimes it was, especially when they were trying to get like like really dramatic. It didn't feel really genuine to me. It just felt kind of like so. Um, I just found it hard to like the character, because he just never really felt like someone that I can understand. The whole time I was just like just sorry ass, you know what I mean? Just like fucking soft ass, stupid ass. Like, those are the phrases that were coming to my head when I was watching this dude. You know, like, I never felt much sympathy for him. The only part of sympathy that I felt was of the fact that, you know, he was a closeted gay dude, and you know that he didn't feel that he could really voice himself, you know, and that he found someone that can understand him. You know what I mean? Like, that part I can relate to. But this whole notion that momentary love is like real love, and that somehow, some way, it's a meaningful thing. I mean, moments like that can be meaningful, but when it's done, it's done. Like, move the fuck on. You know what I mean? Like, that was my thought process when we got to that timeline, that part in the timeline where it was 2010. I was just like, move the fuck on, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Um, like, I've had momentary stuff like that. It was romantic, but I learned very quickly that you got to move on from that shit. Like, that's not something that you hold on to. That's just stuff that just happens, you know what I mean? So, like, that's not something that's like genuine, you know? That's just something of a memory. You know, that's not something that's actual, like, you know, like something that you should be so emotionally tied to, you know what I'm saying? Um, so, but beyond my issues with its narrative purposes and just the tools that they use, like some of the ways that they try to get you emotionally connected, and my real lack of connection with the chemistry of with the chemistry and the characters to an extent, um, I think that it's visually impressive. I think that, like, visually it just has a lot going on. I like the aura of the film. I like this very intimate, kind of quiet type piece. Um, at least it feels like you're just like kind of moving through with them. I like that approach. I like the craftsmanship overall. Um, like, technically speaking, well, mostly. I think the editing is pretty spotty. There's a lot of points where, especially at the end, it just ends. You know what I mean? Um, and there's a lot of abrupt cutting going on. Like, one person's talking and then cut, and then we're back to that shot again. Cut, we're back to that shot again. Like, it can get a little choppy, a little bit spotty, a little rough, if I'm honest, in some regards. So, really, what I take from the film is that it had an interesting, like, I could see where this could have gone if they just, like, I don't see why we needed to go any further than 1997, I believe it was. I feel like we could have just stayed in that time period, um, and we could have just left it on him, you know, leaving, you know, and him having to wrestle with, you know, his own identity and stuff like that. You know, when the other guy goes off to wherever he's gonna go off to, and the guy stays at home. I would have liked to have seen how he handles his girlfriend. I would have liked to have seen how he grows with, you know, being more accepting of his identity, or at least his sexual preferences and stuff like that, and being more, you know, honest and upfront with that, being cool with that. I would have liked to have seen that more than seeing this sorry ass that he turns into, you know? Like, I would have preferred seeing more progression than digression, you know what I'm saying? So, because it feels like the character's just going backwards, not necessarily forward. Um, so, you know, it's a story that has some level of interest because of its technicalities, and an aura that is like suitable. I think the camera work is really good. Like, I think that just in terms of shots, I love the car. Like, I love how long we're in the car. I would have honestly loved the film the whole way through to be in the car, but, you know, just because of how it's built, it wouldn't work that way. So it had potential to be other things, but it chose to be something pretty shallow, pretty hollow, pretty eh. So, um, so I wish that the story was different. I wish the performances were better. I wish that the chemistry was better. But it has some nice some nice images, um, and good camera work. So, but I can't really recommend it. It's just a very hollow, very just surface level type story, and just, again, not really acted well. It has its moments with its performers, but just not enough to be that's worthwhile. So, yeah, so I wouldn't really recommend it. It's just kind of, I wouldn't say it's disposable, but it's just like it had potential. You know, it had potential to be something more interesting, but it just chose to be something pretty, you know, just pretty basic. So yeah. So that's my thoughts on Of an Age. Pretty just, you know, like I said, pretty basic stuff. You guys want to know your thoughts on Of an Age if you guys saw it, and yeah, I really think that ultimately it's momentary love, or momentary romance. Basically, is what it's you know, what it's about. You know, and moments come and go, dog. That's how it goes. So just move on from it. So I feel like that's what the film ultimately failed in understanding with that message, is that you have to move on from it. If you don't, there's other problems with you. It's not just about that situation, you know. So learn to move on. So, but that's gonna be it for this review, guys. Thank you guys for watching. I'll probably have more reviews out pretty soon, so make sure you check those out when they come out. And that's it for me, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye, guys. See you guys next time.